The human ship called Eternal Dawn moved slowly through the darkness of space. Inside stood at the window and watched the alien station grow larger. His heart beat faster. This was his first real mission as a cultural ambassador. 15 years ago, humans had joined the galactic community. Now would live on an alien station for 6 months. Nervous, Captain asked, walking up behind him. Smiled a little, but excited too. Patted his shoulder. They are different from us, very different. They don't show emotions like we do, don't take it personally. Nodded. He had read all the reports. They were an old race. They had given up emotions thousands of years ago. They believed feelings made people weak and foolish. Their society ran on pure logic and telepathy. No anger, no joy, no sadness, nothing. The ship docked with a soft thud, picked up his bags. His colleague came over, her face bright with excitement. "Can you believe we're actually doing this?" she said. "Living with telepathic aliens for 6 months." "You're supposed to study their biology," said with a laugh. "Try not to make them your test subjects on day 1. Grinned, no promises. They walked through the docking tunnel. The station's air felt cold and sterile. Everything looked perfect and clean, too perfect. The walls were smooth white metal. Soft blue lights lined the ceiling. There were no pictures, no decorations, no signs of life. 3 waited for them. They stood completely still, their faces blank. They looked almost human, but their skin had a slight blue tint. Their eyes were larger, with silver pupils. They wore long robes that showed no personality at all. "Welcome," one of them said. His voice was flat, without any tone. "I am administrator. These are my assistants. We will show you to your quarters." Bowed slightly, a human gesture of respect. "Thank you for having us." His face didn't change. He simply turned and walked away. The humans followed. As they walked through the station, noticed how quiet everything was. Others moved through the halls like ghosts. No one talked. No one smiled. They simply walked with purpose from one place to another. It felt like being in a library where even breathing was too loud. Their quarters were comfortable but plain. White walls, simple beds, a desk, and nothing else. Looked around inside. "Well, this is cheerful," she muttered. That evening, and the other humans gathered in their common room. There were 5 humans total on this mission. They talked and laughed, sharing stories about the trip. Someone played music from a small speaker. Another person made jokes. It felt good to be among his own people after the cold silence of the station. What didn't know was that someone was watching. In another part of the station, Princess Lyra sat in her study. Multiple screens floated in front of her. One screen showed the human quarters. She had been assigned to observe and study these strange visitors. It was her duty as a member of the royal family. She watched the humans with confusion. They made loud sounds with their mouths. Their faces moved in strange ways. One of them, the male, called, threw his head back, his mouth wide open, making a rhythmic sound. Lyra checked her data files. "Laughing," the file said, "a human response to amusement or joy." She watched closely. His eyes crinkled at the corners. His whole face changed shape. Something stirred inside Lyra's chest. A strange sensation. She didn't know what to call it. Lyra had lived for 28 standard years. She had never felt anything before. Were trained from birth to suppress all emotions. They used meditation and mental exercises to keep their minds clear and logical. Feelings were considered a primitive trait that civilized beings had evolved beyond. But now, watching this human laugh, something felt different inside her. She tried to push the sensation away. She focused on her breathing, clearing her mind like she had been taught. The feeling faded, but it didn't disappear completely. A tiny seed of it remained. The next day began his work. His job was to teach about human culture. He gave presentations about Earth's history, art, and customs. They listened in complete silence. They never asked questions. They never reacted. They simply absorbed the information like computers. It was the strangest teaching experience of his life. After one session, was packing his materials when he sensed someone behind him. He turned and saw a female standing in the doorway. She wore robes of deep purple, which his briefing had said meant royalty. "Hello," said, smiling warmly. "I don't think we've met." The stared at him. Her silver eyes studied his face with intense focus. For a moment she said nothing. "I am Princess Lyra," she finally said. Her voice was as flat as all the others. "I have been assigned to study human behavior." "Oh, well, it's an honor to meet you, Princess Bode. If you have any questions about humans, please ask me anytime." Lyra's eyes flickered to his mouth when he smiled. That strange feeling in her chest came back, stronger this time. She took a small step backward. "Why do you move your face that way?" she asked. Blinked in surprise. "You mean smiling? It's how humans show we're happy or friendly." "Happy," Lyra repeated. "An emotional state, illogical." "Maybe," said gently, "but it helps us connect with each other. It shows we mean no harm." Lyra tilted her head slightly. "Connection, also unnecessary. We have telepathy." "True, but humans aren't telepathic. We need other ways to understand each other." Smile grew warmer. "That's what makes us interesting, don't you think? All our different ways of communicating." For the first time in her life, Lyra felt something she would later learn to call curiosity. She wanted to understand this strange human. She wanted to know why his face movements made her feel these sensations. "I will observe you further," she said. Then she turned and left quickly, her robes flowing behind her. Stood alone in the empty room, puzzled. That was the strangest conversation he'd ever had, but there was something about the princess, something in her eyes. For just a moment, he thought he saw something beyond the blank mask. That night, Lyra returned to her study. She called up the recordings of again. She watched him smile. She watched him talk with his hands. She watched him place a gentle hand on his shoulder when the other woman looked sad about something. And that feeling in her chest grew stronger. It scared her. It fascinated her. She didn't understand it at all. She wasn't supposed to feel anything. But she did. And it had only just begun. 3 weeks passed. Princess Lyra spent hours each day watching the humans through her monitors. She told herself it was research, her duty. But deep inside, in a place she tried hard to ignore, she knew the truth. She wanted to watch, especially. The humans were so alive. They moved with energy. They touched each other on the shoulders, arms, even embraced fully. Never touched unless necessary. Physical contact seemed crude and primitive. But when Lyra watched the humans do it, something warm spread through her body. One day, she watched in the science lab. The human woman had been working on an experiment for weeks. She was trying to grow earth plants in the station's different atmosphere. Lyra check her results, and then her shoulders slumped. The plants had died. Sat down and put her face in her hands. Her shoulders shook slightly. Lyra leaned closer to the monitor. Was the human broken, malfunctioning? Then entered the lab. He saw and immediately went to her. He pulled a chair close and sat beside her. He didn't say anything at first. He just placed his hand on her back and rubbed in slow circles. "I'm sorry," said, her voice thick. "I know it's stupid to cry over plants." "It's not stupid," said softly. "You worked hard, it's okay to be disappointed." 3 weeks of work gone. "Then we'll try again. I'll help you this time. We'll figure it out together." Looked up at him. Water ran from her eyes down her cheeks, but she smiled. "Thanks." He smiled back and squeezed her shoulder. "That's what friends do." Lyra watched this exchange with her mouth slightly open. She didn't understand it fully, but she felt something powerful. The way had comforted. The way his presence had changed his whole demeanor. There was something beautiful in it. Her chest hurt, not physically, but something inside her ached with a strange pain that was almost pleasant. That evening, Lyra went to her scheduled medical examination. All received monthly telepathic scans to ensure mental stability. She sat in the white medical chair while Dr. Wren placed sensors on her temples. "Relax your mind," he said in his emotionless voice. "Let me see your thought patterns." Lyra tried to clear her mind, but images of kept appearing. His smile, his laugh, the way he moved his hands when he talked. She pushed the thoughts away, but they came back stronger. Dr. Wren's eyes narrowed. He studied the readings on his screen. "Princess, I am detecting anomalies in your neural patterns." Lyra's heart beat faster. Fear, she was feeling fear. What kind of anomalies? "Emotional fluctuations, small but present. This is highly irregular." He looked at her directly. "Have you been spending time near the humans?" "I observe them," Lyra said carefully, "for my research." "Observation through monitors only, I assume." Lyra nodded. Dr. Wren made notes. "I recommend you cease this research. The humans appear to be having an effect on your mental stability. Their emotional nature may be infectious." Infectious, like a disease. Lyra should have felt relief that the doctor had identified the problem. Instead, she felt something else. Resistance. She didn't want to stop watching the humans. She didn't want to stop feeling these strange new sensations. "I will consider your recommendation," she said formally. That night she didn't stop watching. She couldn't. The next week, something changed. The humans requested permission to share aspects of their culture with interested. Administrator agreed, seeing it as educational. Organized a cultural presentation in one of the station's meeting halls. Lyra attended. She told herself it was still research. She sat in the back row where she could observe without being noticed. Stood at the front of the room. About 20 sat in perfect silence, watching him. He seemed nervous at first, but then he smiled and relaxed. "Thank you all for coming," he said. "Today, I want to share something very important to humans: music." He tapped a control pad. Sound filled the room. It started soft, just a single instrument. Then more sounds joined. Different tones blended together, creating patterns that rose and fell like waves. Lyra felt her breath catch. The sounds moved through her. They seemed to touch something deep inside that she didn't know existed. The music grew louder, more complex. It made her want to move. It made her feel. She didn't have words for it. She looked at, his eyes were closed. His head moved slightly with the rhythm. His face showed such peace, such contentment. Whatever he felt, it was good. She knew that somehow. When the music ended, they sat in silence. Then they stood and left one by one without comment, typical behavior. But Lyra stayed seated. She couldn't move. The music had done something to her. Noticed her, he walked up the aisle toward her. "Princess Lyra, I didn't know you were here." She struggled to speak. "What was that?" "Music, specifically a symphony by a human composer named. Did you like it?" Like another emotion word, but yes, she had liked it very much. "It was effective," she said, trying to sound neutral. Smiled, he sat down in the seat next to her, too close. She could feel warmth radiating from his body. We're naturally cooler than humans. "Music is one of the things that makes us human," he said. "It lets us express feelings that words can't describe. Joy, sadness, love, anger, all of it becomes sound. Your people use it for emotional expression." "Yes, but it's more than that. Music connects us. When we listen together, we feel together. It reminds us we're not alone." Not alone. Lyra had never considered loneliness before, existed independently. They didn't need connection. But sitting next to, listening to him speak with such passion, she realized something terrible. She had been alone her entire life. She just hadn't known it. Her hands trembled slightly. She clasped them together to stop it. Noticed his face showed concern. "Are you all right?" "I am functional," she said automatically. "That's not what I asked." His voice was gentle. "Are you all right? You seem different." Different, yes, she was different. These 3 weeks of watching humans had changed something fundamental inside her. She was breaking. Or maybe she was finally becoming whole. She didn't know which. "I must go," she said suddenly, standing up. "Wait, I didn't mean to." But she was already walking away, fast, her robes flowing behind her. She could feel his eyes on her back. She could feel his confusion. Or maybe that was her own confusion reflecting back. She returned to her quarters and sealed the door. She stood in the center of the room, breathing hard. Her whole body felt strange, hot and cold at the same time. Her chest hurt with that pleasant ache again. She went to her private monitor and called up recordings of. She watched him smile. She watched him laugh with his crew. She watched him comfort, and she felt. She felt curiosity about his world. She felt warmth when he smiled. She felt that ache when he showed kindness. She felt joy when she heard his laugh. She was feeling. A princess was feeling emotions. Her attendant, a named, entered without knocking. She took one look at Lyra and froze. "Princess," she said slowly, "you are smiling." Lyra touched her face. Her mouth was curved upward. She was smiling. The expression felt strange on her face, but also right. "I did not notice," Lyra said. "This is dangerous," said. "You must report to medical immediately. This contamination must be stopped." Contamination, that word again. But was it contamination, or was it something else, something better? Lyra looked at her reflection in the dark monitor screen. She saw her smile. She saw life in her eyes that had never been there before. "No," she said quietly. No looked shocked, did not refuse medical care. "I will manage it myself," Lyra said. "You may go." Hesitated, then bowed and left. But Lyra knew the truth, would report this. Soon the council would know. Soon everyone would know that the princess was compromised. But for now, just for now, Lyra let herself smile. She let herself feel. And she thought about the human who had awakened something inside her that could never be put back to sleep. The next morning, Princess Lyra woke up and immediately knew something was wrong. She had dreamed. Did not dream. Their minds shut down completely during sleep, resting in perfect darkness. But Lyra had seen images, memories mixed with imagination. She had dreamed of music and smiling faces and warm hands touching her shoulder. She had dreamed of. She sat up in bed, her heart racing. This was getting worse, or better, she couldn't tell anymore. A message appeared on her wall screen. "Princess Lyra, your presence is requested in the council chamber at midday. Attendance is mandatory." They knew, of course they knew. The council knew everything that happened on the station. Lyra had several hours before the meeting. She made a decision that surprised herself. She got dressed and went to the human quarters. Her hands shook as she walked. She was nervous. Fear and anticipation mixed together in her stomach. When she arrived, she pressed the door chime. Answered. He looked surprised but pleased to see her. "Princess Lyra, this is unexpected. Please come in." She stepped inside. The human quarters looked so different from spaces. They had put up pictures on the walls, photos of Earth, images of families. Personal items sat on shelves. A plant grew in a pot by the window. It was messy and chaotic and alive. "I apologize for the intrusion," Lyra said stiffly. "I came to request further cultural education." Smile widened. "Of course, I'd be happy to teach you. What would you like to know about?" "Everything," Lyra thought. "I want to know everything." "You mentioned that humans bond through food." She had been thinking about this since she watched him share a meal with his crew. "Yes, eating together is very important to us. Would you like to join me for breakfast?" Lyra hesitated. Ate nutritional paste 3 times a day. It was efficient and provided everything the body needed. She had never thought about food being anything more than fuel. "I would like that." Led her to the small kitchen area. He made something he called pancakes. She watched him mix ingredients, heat a pan, and flip the golden circles. The smell was strange but pleasant. He added a sweet substance called syrup and handed her a plate. "Go ahead," he encouraged. Try it. Lyra picked up the fork awkwardly. She cut a small piece and put it in her mouth. The taste exploded on her tongue. Sweet, warm, soft. It was nothing like nutritional paste. Her eyes widened. Laughed good. She nodded, unable to speak. She took another bite, then another. Something about the act of eating this food prepared by hand, shared with another person, felt important, meaningful. This is how humans connect, she asked between bites. One way, yes. Sharing a meal means sharing time. It means you matter enough to me to stop and eat together. He took a bite of his own pancakes. My mother used to say that food tastes better when you make it for someone you care about. Care about? Lyra felt that warm ache in her chest again. They ate in comfortable silence. When they finished, showed her other human things. He showed her a book of poetry. He tried to explain the meaning behind the words, how they created feelings and images. He showed her paintings, explaining how colors and shapes could express emotions. This one is my favorite, he said, showing her a painting of a starry night sky. It was made by a human named Van. He was troubled, I think, maybe sad, but he took that feeling and turned it into something beautiful. Lyra stared at the swirling stars. She could feel the emotion in it, the loneliness, the wonder, the desperate need to capture something bigger than yourself. I understand this, she whispered. Looked at her with those warm brown eyes. Do you? I think I am beginning to. He smiled softly. There was something in his expression, something that made her heart beat faster, but before she could identify it, the door chime rang. A male stood outside. He was tall, with the same purple robes as Lyra. His face showed nothing, but Lyra knew him well enough to sense his displeasure. Cousin, she said, what brings you here? The council sent me to escort you to your meeting. They believed you might require assistance finding your way. His silver eyes flickered too. I see their concern was justified. I was conducting research, Lyra said. Research, of course. Turn to, human, you have been kind to host the princess. She will not trouble you further. She's no trouble at all, said. Something in his voice had hardened. He didn't like's tone. Come, cousin, said. We must not be late. Lyra looked at, she wanted to stay. She wanted to learn more. She wanted to understand why being near him made her feel so alive, but duty called. Thank you for the meal, she said formally, and the instruction. Any time, princess, you're always welcome here. As Lyra walked away with, she felt his telepathic presence press against her mind. Rarely spoke telepathically except for private conversations. His thoughts were cold and sharp. You are losing yourself to the human disease, he projected. I can feel the emotions radiating from you. Shame, desire, confusion. It is disgusting. It is not a disease, Lyra thought back. It is awakening. It is contamination, and the council will cleanse you of it. They entered the council chamber. 12 elders sat in a circle, their faces blank masks. In the center stood a medical chair with restraints. Princess Lyra, the head counselor said, we have detected severe emotional instability in your neural patterns. This cannot be allowed to continue. You will undergo the purging procedure immediately. Lyra had heard of the purging. It was a telepathic process that erased emotional development. It reset the mind to its proper blank state. Some called it a cure. Others called it murder of the self. I refuse, Lyra said. Her voice shook, but she stood straight. Silence. The council members looked at each other. No one refused the purging. You do not have a choice, the head counselor said. You are compromised. The human contamination must be removed. The humans have not contaminated me, Lyra said, her hands clenched into fists. They have shown me that I was already alive. I just did not know it. Emotions are primitive, another counselor said. They lead to irrationality, violence, and suffering. We evolved beyond them for good reason. Did we, Lyra asked, or did we simply cut out part of what makes a person whole? The humans have emotions and they are not violent, they are kind, they care for each other, they create beauty. What have we created? Empty halls and empty lives. Silence, the head counselor commanded. You will submit to the procedure. Guards moved forward. Lyra's heart raced. Fear, true fear, but also something else. Determination. She would not let them erase what she had discovered. She turned and ran. The guards chased her. She fled through the corridors, her mind racing. She needed help, she needed. She ran to the human quarters. She pounded on the door. Opened it, his eyes wide with surprise. Lyra, what's wrong? They want to erase my emotions, she said, breathing hard. The council, they want to purge me, make me empty again. His face showed anger, real anger. They can't do that, you have the right to choose. Not in law, the individual serves the collective. Personal choice is secondary. The guards arrived, 6 of them led by. Step aside, human said. This does not concern you. But didn't move. He stood in the doorway, blocking their path to Lyra. Actually, it does concern me. This concerns all of us. He activated his communicator. Captain, we have a situation. I need the whole crew in the common room. Now. Within minutes, all 5 humans stood together. They formed a barrier between Lyra and the guards. This is a violation of our diplomatic agreement, Captain said firmly. Princess Lyra came to us seeking sanctuary. We grant it. She is a citizen, said. You have no authority. We have the authority of basic rights. The right to choose your own mind, the right to feel, the right to be yourself, crossed his arms. Take her and this cultural exchange ends. Humanity withdraws from all contact. The guards hesitated. His face remained blank, but Lyra could sense his frustration through their telepathic link. This is not over, he said. Then he and the guards left. Lyra stood among the humans, shaking, turned to her, his face full of concern. Are you okay? And for the first time, Lyra answered honestly. No, I am afraid, I am confused, I am grateful, I am feeling everything at once and I do not know what to do with it. Took her hand. The touch sent warmth through her whole body. That's okay, he said gently. We'll figure it out together. Together, not alone. Never alone again. Lyra squeezed his hand back and felt something new. Hope. For 3 days, Princess Lyra stayed in the human quarters. The council had not forced the issue yet, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time. The humans treated her with kindness. They taught her human games, showed her movies, and shared stories about Earth. She learned what it meant to laugh until your stomach hurt. She learned what it felt like to cry during a sad story. Spent hours with her each day. He was patient, answering her endless questions. Why do humans hug? Why do they make that sound when they find something funny? Why do they create art? Because we need to, he explained one evening as they sat together watching the stars through the window. Emotions build up inside us. Art, music, laughter, tears, they're all ways to let those feelings out. Otherwise, they get trapped inside and hurt us. Believe emotions hurt us, Lyra said. That is why we suppress them. But suppressing them isn't the same as not having them, said. I think maybe you all still feel things. You've just been taught to ignore them so well that you forgot they were there. Lyra thought about that. About the empty feeling she had carried her whole life without knowing it was emptiness. About the loneliness she had never recognized as loneliness. You might be right, she said softly. Their shoulders touched as they sat side by side. Neither moved away. Lyra was learning about physical comfort, how a simple touch could say more than words. That night alarms blared through the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. An automated voice announced, "Solar flare detected. All personnel to evacuation stations. This is not a drill." Lyra jumped to her feet, was already moving, pulling on his shoes. The other humans rushed from their rooms. "What's happening?" asked, her voice tight with fear. "Solar flare from the nearby star," Captain said, checking his. The station's shields should protect us, but everyone needs to get to the safe zones. They ran into the corridor, moved in organized lines toward the evacuation points. No panic, no shouting, just efficient movement, but Lyra could sense something through the telepathic background noise. Fear. They were all afraid, they just didn't know how to show it. Grabbed Lyra's hand. "Stay with me." They ran together, the station shook. Somewhere metal groaned and screeched. The shields were being hit by radiation. Lyra heard a sound that made her blood run cold. Children crying. She stopped running, the youth wing. What? Looked back at her. The education wing. The young children are there. It is not a designated safe zone because it should be protected by the outer shields. Another shudder ran through the station. Lights flickered. "Should be protected," repeated. His face went pale. "Are you saying those kids might be in danger?" Before Lyra could answer, there was an explosion. Not close, but loud enough to echo through the walls. Smoke began to fill the corridor. Made a decision. "Take everyone to the safe zone. I'm going to check on those kids." "Don't be stupid," the captain said. "You don't know where you're going." "I do," Lyra said. "I will guide him." They ran against the flow of evacuating. Lyra led through corridors she had known since childhood. The smoke got thicker. Heat radiated from the walls. Something was definitely wrong. They reached the education wing. The door was jammed, bent from the explosion. Through the small window, Lyra could see 15 children huddled together. They were so young, 5 or 6 standard years old. Their faces showed something rarely saw, pure terror. "Stand back," said. He kicked the door once, twice. On the third kick it gave way. He rushed inside. "Come on, kids, we're getting out of here." The children stared at him. They had never seen a human before. One of the younger ones started to cry. Lyra knelt down. "It is safe. This human will help us. Follow me." She took the hand of the nearest child, picked up the smallest one, carrying her in his arms. The others followed, a line of frightened children holding hands. They made it into the corridor, but the path back was blocked. Flames and twisted metal barred the way. Looked around frantically. "Is there another way out?" "The emergency shaft," Lyra said, "but it will be a tight fit." "Better tight than dead. Lead the way." They crawled through maintenance tunnels. The children were scared but brave. Encouraged them, his voice calm and steady even though Lyra could sense his fear. She felt something powerful watching him. Admiration. And something else. Something that made her heart squeeze tight. They were almost to safety when the ceiling above them groaned. Lyra looked up and saw metal buckling. It was going to collapse. "Run," she shouted. The children scrambled forward, pushed them ahead, making sure each one made it past. Lyra went through. She turned back to call to. The ceiling fell. Metal beams crashed down, dove forward but not fast enough. A beam caught his leg, pinning him. He cried out in pain. Lyra screamed. She tried to go back, but hands grabbed her. Other who had come to help, they pulled her back. "It is not safe," one of them said. "We must seal this section." "No, he is still in there." But they were already activating the emergency doors. Heavy blast doors began to close. "TAE," Lyra screamed again. Through the narrowing gap she saw him looking at her. His face was pale with pain, but he smiled. "Get the kids to safety," he called out. "Promise me." "I promise, but you have to." The doors sealed shut with a final bang. Silence. Lyra stood there, staring at the closed door. Something inside her broke. All the emotions she had been learning to feel came crashing down at once. Terror, desperation, grief, and something else. Something so powerful it brought her to her knees. She loved him. She loved. And she might have lost him. Water ran from her eyes, tears. She was crying, sobbing. Her whole body shook with it. The others stared at her in shock. They had never seen one of their own cry before. One of the children she had saved, a little girl, hugged her. The human will be okay, the child said in a small voice. He was very brave. Brave, yes, he had been so brave. He had risked his life for children who were not even his species. That was that was why she loved him. Medical teams arrived. They took the children to be examined. Someone tried to lead Lyra away, but she refused to move. She sat in front of that sealed door and waited. Captain found her there an hour later. His face was grim. "Princess, we need to talk." "Is he alive?" Her voice was raw from crying. "We don't know yet. The radiation levels in that section are still too high. We can't get to him." "How long?" "Another hour, maybe 2. It was the longest 2 hours of Lyra's life. She learned what waiting felt like when you loved someone. Every minute stretched into eternity. She prayed, even though had given up religion centuries ago. She bargained with the universe. She would give anything to have him back safe. Finally, the all-clear came. Emergency teams in protective suits opened the blast doors. Lyra pushed past them, running into the damaged corridor. She found unconscious, his legs still trapped under the beam, but his chest moved. He was breathing. "Help him," she cried, "please." They lifted the beam. Medical staff loaded him onto a stretcher. They rushed him to the human medical bay. Lyra followed, refusing to leave his side. As the human doctor worked on him, checking his injuries, Lyra held his hand. She watched his face, willing him to wake up. His eyes opened slowly. He saw her and smiled weakly. "Hey," he whispered, "did the kids make it out?" Fresh tears ran down Lyra's face. "Yes, all of them because of you." "Good," his eyes closed again. "That's good." She said, her voice breaking. I need to tell you something. I do not have the right words. Humans have so many words for feelings and I am still learning, but—" His hand squeezed hers. "I know." "You know." "I feel it too." He opened his eyes again and looked at her with such warmth. "Whatever this is between us, I feel it too." Lyra leaned down and did something very human. She pressed her forehead against his. The gesture felt right, perfect. But their moment was interrupted. The medical bay doors opened. The council entered, flanked by guards. "Princess Lyra," the head counselor said, "you have been witnessed displaying extreme emotional behavior. The contamination has progressed too far. You will undergo the purging procedure immediately. This is no longer negotiable." Lyra stood, still holding his hand. "No," she said clearly, "I will not." The medical bay fell silent. Every human in the room froze. The guards moved forward, ready to take Lyra by force if necessary. "You refuse," the head counselor said. "Princess, you leave us no choice. Guards, restrain her." "Touch her and you violate every principle of individual rights in the galaxy," Captain said, stepping between Lyra and the guards. The other humans moved to stand beside him. Even, who had been trembling, stood firm. "She is," the counselor said. "Our laws apply." "She is a sentient being," countered. "And sentient beings have the right to their own minds, their own feelings, their own choices. What you're proposing is not medical treatment. It is erasure of identity." The head counselor's face remained blank, but there was tension in his voice. "The humans do not understand. Emotions are a plague. They lead to suffering. We eliminated them to protect our people." "Protected them from what?" asked. Her voice shook but grew stronger. "From being alive, from connecting with each other, from love." "From pain," the counselor said simply. "From loss, from fear, from all the negative feelings that destroy civilizations." Lyra stepped forward. Her hand left, though it felt like tearing away a part of herself. She faced the council with her head high. "I have felt pain," she said. "When I thought might die, I felt such pain I thought I would break, but I also felt love. I felt hope. I felt joy when the children smiled at me. You want to take that away because you are afraid of the pain, but you cannot have light without shadow. You cannot have joy without knowing sadness." Philosophical arguments will not sway this council, the head counselor said. You will submit. No, Lyra said again. This time her voice was steady. I will not let you erase who I am becoming. These past weeks, I have been more alive than in all my previous years. I refuse to go back to that emptiness. The guards moved forward, but before they could reach Lyra, something unexpected happened. The medical bay doors opened again. A small figure walked in. It was one of the children Lyra had saved, the little girl who had hugged her. Behind her came the other 14 children and their parents. Wait, one of the parents said. It was a female named, her voice shook, breaking protocol. Please wait. The council turned to look at them. Knelt in front of her daughter. Show them, she said gently. The little girl walked up to Lyra. She smiled, a real smile that crinkled her eyes and showed tiny teeth. Then she hugged Lyra's leg. Thank you for saving me, the child said. The human was brave, you were brave too. I want to be brave like you. More of the children came forward. Each one smiled. Each one showed emotions that children were never supposed to have. What is this? The head counselor demanded. Stood, ever since the rescue, our children have been different. They have been feeling, they smile, they laugh, they cry when they are sad, and we, she paused, her voice breaking. We have been feeling too. Watching them be so alive, it awakened something in us that we thought we had lost. Another parent stepped forward. My son asked me yesterday why I never hugged him. I did not have an answer, so I hugged him, and it felt. Tears ran down the father's face. It felt like coming home after a long journey. More entered the medical bay. Adults who had witnessed Lyra's emotional breakdown, who had seen a princess cry and scream and love, who had watched a human risk his life for children not his own. I felt something when I saw the princess crying, one said. I felt sympathy, I wanted to comfort her. I felt pride when the human saved our children, another said. I felt grateful. I felt hope. I felt alive. One by one they spoke, and as they spoke something amazing happened. They began to smile. They began to cry. Emotions rippled through the crowd like water breaking through a dam. The head counselor looked around in shock. This is mass contamination. This is exactly what we feared. Is it contamination? Lyra asked. Or is it awakening? You call emotions a human disease, but humans did not give us these feelings. They only showed us it was safe to acknowledge what was already inside us. She gestured to the crowd. Look at them, do they look diseased or do they look free? The counselor had no answer. A new voice spoke from the back of the room. Sister, wait. A young pushed through the crowd. She wore purple robes. Princess Lyra's younger sister. Her face was wet with tears. Lyra breathed. I have been feeling for months, said. Long before the humans arrived, I thought I was broken. I thought I was alone. I hid it from everyone, terrified of the purging. She looked at Lyra with such relief. But I am not broken, and I am not alone. More young stepped forward. All of them had been secretly experiencing emotions. All of them had been hiding it, ashamed and afraid. The head counselor looked at the emperor, who had entered silently and stood watching everything. The emperor's face was still blank, but he studied the crowd carefully. Your Majesty, the counselor said, we must act decisively. This contamination will spread. It already has spread, the emperor said quietly. He looked at his daughter Lyra. For the first time in her life, she saw something flicker in his eyes. Tell me, daughter, this human, you care for him. I love him, Lyra said simply. I do not fully understand what that means yet, but yes. Love, the emperor repeated. He was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke to the entire room. 5,000 years ago, our ancestors made a choice. They decided emotions caused more harm than good. They instituted the suppression protocols, and for 5,000 years we have been stable, peaceful, efficient. He paused, and empty. The counselor started to speak, but the emperor raised a hand. I have been watching the humans, the emperor continued. I have seen how they grieve their losses, how they rage at injustice, how they love fiercely and laugh freely. Yes, they suffer, but they also experience joy we cannot imagine. They create beauty we could never conceive. They connect with each other in ways we have forgotten. He looked at Lyra. Perhaps we did not evolve beyond emotions. Perhaps we simply amputated part of ourselves and called it progress. Your Majesty, the head counselor protested, if we allow this, our entire civilization will change. Yes, the emperor said, it will, and perhaps it is time. He turned to the crowd. I will not force anyone to feel emotions. Those who wish to continue the suppression may do so. But I will also not punish those who choose to embrace their feelings. We will create designated zones on our worlds where emotional expression is permitted, where those who wish to learn from the humans may do so freely. He looked at his daughter. Lyra, you have shown great courage. You have your training, your culture, and your own counsel. You have taught me that true strength is not suppressing your heart. It is having the courage to follow it. Lyra felt tears streaming down her face again, but this time they were tears of joy. Thank you, Father. The Emperor nodded. Then he did something that shocked everyone in the room. He walked to his bedside. The human tried to sit up, but the Emperor gestured for him to remain still. Human, the Emperor said, you risked your life for our children. You showed my daughter what it means to feel. You have changed our civilization more than any war or treaty ever could. I owe you a debt. Smiled weakly. No debt, Your Majesty. I did what anyone should do. And Lyra, she didn't need me to teach her to feel. She just needed permission to acknowledge what was already there. The Emperor studied him. You care for my daughter. Very much, sir. Good, the Emperor straightened. Then you have my blessing, both of you. He turned and left, the council following in confused silence. The crowd began to disperse, but many lingered. Parents hugged their children. Friends touched hands and smiled at each other. Small moments of connection that had been forbidden for. Lyra returned to his side. She took his hand again. That was intense, he said with a small laugh. Did we just accidentally start a revolution? I think we did, Lyra said. She felt lighter than air, free. What happens now? Asked. Will you stay here, Lyra? Lyra looked around at the station, her home for 28 years, a place that had always felt cold and empty. She looked at the humans who had become her friends, at the universe of possibility ahead of her. The Emperor is creating emotional zones, she said, but I would like to see more, learn more, experience more, she looked if that is acceptable. Are you asking to join our crew? Captain asked with a smile. If you will have me. I think we can arrange that, said. We could use a cultural liaison who understands both sides. Over the next few weeks, Lyra watched as society began to change. Slowly at first, then faster. The emotional zones became popular gathering places. Young especially flocked to them, eager to explore feelings they had always sensed but never understood. Lyra's sister became an advocate for emotional rights. She worked with the council to create support systems for who chose to embrace feelings. It was not easy. Some still believed emotions were dangerous, but change had begun. The day came for the human ship to leave. Lyra packed her few belongings. She stood in her quarters one last time, looking at the blank walls. Then she walked out and didn't look back. On the Eternal Dawn met her at the airlock. His leg had healed well. He smiled when he saw her. Ready for adventure? He asked. I am ready for everything, Lyra said. That night, as the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, Lyra stood at the observation window with the stars stretched into lines of light around them. What are you thinking? Asked. I am thinking about how afraid I was to come to your quarters that first time, Lyra said. I stood outside your door 3 times before I finally pressed the chime. I was so scared of what these feelings meant. And now I understand. I could not contain my emotions because they were never meant to be contained. They were meant to be felt, shared, expressed. She turned to look at him. "Thank you for showing me that. Thank you for being brave enough to feel," said. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. She didn't want to. She met him halfway in her first kiss. It was soft and gentle and perfect. When they pulled apart, Lyra was smiling. A real, genuine smile that came from deep inside. "I love you," she said in human language. She had been practicing. "I love you too," replied. Behind them, the stars shone bright. Ahead of them, the universe waited with infinite possibilities. And in her heart, Lyra felt something she had never experienced before. She felt complete. The shy alien princess who had once been afraid to knock on a door had found the courage to step through it. And on the other side, she had found not just love, but herself. Humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy was not their technology or their strength. It was simply their willingness to feel, to care, and to show others that being alive meant more than just existing. It meant truly living. And Lyra would spend the rest of her life learning how.